welcome to The Finder of Lost Things, exploring your superpowers of trust, healing and transformation, with me, Hannah Belton. My brother, Christian, disappeared in Mali, Africa in 2003. He disappeared without a trace. We lost his story, we didn't have closure, we lost so much. I was fighting and searching to find Christian when actually I just needed to sit in stillness and attract him in. I was so resistant to doing this, but I had to surrender. It's a process of trusting and finding the lost pieces and integrating them. This podcast will uncover the process that Christian and I went on to find the lost things, him, and to find the parts of me that were missing.
And we were destined from the start to tell our story into the dark, for we were born to a great white shark.
Hello, welcome. Do come in as usual, come in around the fire. We had actually summer solstice in the Northern Hemisphere last night, and I was around a fire with Nikki, who was on the show a few episodes ago, and it was so beautiful. So I hope everybody during the week is feeling the sun energy and really feeling like powerful. There's some powerful energy around at the moment. And I'm not going to talk too much. I've been told not to talk too much because I have an amazing guest to welcome onto the show. So I met Sophia Christou. We haven't actually met in person at all. We've met online about, I guess, maybe a year ago. It was maybe more than that. And we immediately had this connection. It's not a connection that you particularly want to have with somebody, but we both had brothers in spirit. And so we sort of had a few conversations around our losses and what we gained from now having a brother in spirit. And I asked Sophia if she might like to come on the podcast back in January when we started the shows, and she was a little bit hesitant. So I think it's come to the point now. Something happened recently where we were kind of jogged to get in touch with each other about coming on the show again, and thankfully she said yes this time. So I just want you to meet Sophia. So hi Sophia, thank you so much for coming on the show. So lovely to have you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me. We're finally doing it, Hannah. We're finally doing it. And hello everybody.
I feel like I actually put on, I don't know if you can see my necklace, I actually put on a bit of colour today because I thought, so as you can see, Sophia is an artist and uses such vibrant colours, and she's so joyful and just lights up the screen wherever she is. So so don't
colour. I did notice it suits you. You should do it more.
Oh, thank you. Well, I will. So where do you want to start? Because this is just going to be sort of a chat between friends. So do you just want to tell us a bit about your brother maybe, or something, or your colour? What about your love of colour, your sort of artistry, and where you are with that at the moment?
So that's really, really interesting because I'm 42 now. When I've always loved colour. It's always been a big part of my life. I've always been quite confident with it and quite bold with it. It's only now I realise that it's got so much of its own properties that it, colour can help balance out the energy in a room, or of you as well when you wear certain items. It's probably the reason why we feel so good after we've been for a walk in nature, because of all the green, which promotes well-being, rejuvenation, love. So it's only now that I'm finding out the answers, but I've always been drawn to colour. When I was a child, I remember I didn't even possess a box of crayons, but whenever an adult would ask me what I wanted to do when I grew up, artists would just drop out of my mouth automatically. I didn't even know where it came from myself, but that's what I wanted to do. And I think as time went on, and people started frowning a little bit and their faces would scrunch up, I started thinking, that's not a good answer. I need to make up one. So I'll use one of their suggestions, and they'd often say, "What about doctor or lawyer?" So I remember doing it. I must have been about 6 years old, and they'd be like, "So what do you want to be when you grow up, Sophia?" And I'd go, "Artist and a lawyer." And they'd go, "Oh, a lawyer, great, great, great." And this went on for a while, and eventually artists got quieter and quieter because I realized it didn't get very good feedback. So I dropped that, started saying lawyer. I couldn't have done that either. That wasn't true to who I was, but I did join the police, where I stayed for 14 years. And that's probably a whole other story. But it seems over the last, I'm 42 now, maybe the last 3 years, I picked up a paintbrush to thinking, well, it can't be so hard to find something that I like. It was for a room I was doing, and I couldn't find anything in the shops. And as soon as I picked up the brush and put that colour on the canvas, it was like magical. And yeah, it was like, oh God, and all the memories from my youth came flooding back to me that actually, you know, I'm a self-confessed colour junkie. This is who I am. So, you know, I guess I just got to keep on going with it. So yeah, but I don't do as much art as I'd like, but I also do like digital prints, vibrant digital prints, and colour in the home, balancing spaces and interiors, and harmonising the area, and then that filters through to the people that inhabit that space as well. So it's a win-win, really. I get lots of joy from creating it, and the people that reside there feel the uplifting energy of the colours and the balance too. So
yeah, I was just going to say there's something unseen going on, isn't there, when you're working? I know, I'm just being told, like, it's a lot bigger than putting color onto a canvas. There's energetic things that are going on, magic is happening, and it's obviously your gift that needed to come back into your life. So when we should talk about your childhood, because I guess, you know, it, as so often happens in childhood, we are adapting to our situation and what is going on around us, and if we're getting frowns about things we're saying, and you know, all these gifts get squashed so young. But can you just sort of tell me a bit about your family and your family background?
Yeah, sure. So I was born in Manchester, stayed there till I was 3, had my older brother, Zubi, who was already, he was 4 years old when I was born. Lived in Manchester with mum and dad till I was 3, then we moved to Wales. You'll have to excuse me, my candle's gone out and it's smoking everywhere. I'm going to start coughing in a minute. If I do, that's why. And we came over to Barry, South Wales, and I've been here all my life. Mum's a quiet, gentle soul, and she came over from Afghanistan with my dad when they were in their 20s. They married and then came here. Life wasn't that easy for her, and you know, there was some domestic violence in the home. It wasn't always a happy place. So I guess I was looking for things to uplift myself with, and who knows, maybe that's where the colour was born. Who knows? I think my brother took quite the brunt of it because he was older. And the automatic assumption from me, looking back now, it's only now I can look back and start joining all the dots. I couldn't at the time, was that I had him as my protector. So he made me feel safe in an environment that sometimes didn't. You know, my mum spent a lot of time in fear, and she did an amazing job with 3 of us. My sister later came 7 years after me. She's awesome. So she did what she could, but I guess was often in survival mode. So we just made the best of it, you know, and through that we became quite close, but also quite mature, with a fair bit of responsibility um, on our shoulders, I guess, to keep each other safe, to look out for mum, to see what mood, you know, dad was in when he came home, things like that. And it's just, they're just life circumstances. It happens like that sometimes, you know. We weren't on our own in that situation, but it does, I want to say mold, because I think everyone can change, everyone can shed layers. We're like an onion, aren't we? We can just shed that shit. Excuse my French, but that's what I call it, shedding the shit. But when we know how, obviously. But yeah, it wasn't easy. So, you know, we had each other's backs. He went through some stuff growing up. I wish I could speak to him about that again, and maybe one day I will, and just get to try to understand that a little bit more. But he went through a phase when he was around 16, where I remember he went to Glastonbury, and he was probably doing all sorts whilst he was there. Maybe that was his way of escaping. He came back from Glastonbury, and he wasn't quite the same person that went. So I don't know whether he maybe had an awakening, or too much LSD, or I'm not quite sure, you know, what it was. But after that, he got diagnosed with schizophrenia, paranoid schizophrenia. He was hearing voices. He was feeling quite down. He was hallucinating, not all the time, and I'm not sure what triggered it. But every now and then, you know, it'd be like he's drinking a cup of tea, but there was no tea, having conversations with people that weren't there. So he spent quite a lot of time as a sometimes as a visitor, and sometimes as an inpatient at our, it's no longer here, but at our local, I'm not sure what they call them then, but I guess mental health hospital. And he, hang on. He'd be a visitor there. Sometimes we'd think, oh, he's getting better and he's doing good, and I'd have loads of regular conversation with him. He's always very caring and asking what I'm up to and who I'm hanging around with, who my friends are, and you know, he's always giving me little nuggets of advice. You know, they were on his good days, but on his days that weren't great, he wasn't. It's like he wasn't in the room. He wasn't in the room, and that's when we'd get health services involved, because that's what you're told to do, aren't you? Go to the GP, medics know best, and they do, they know a lot. But obviously in 2021 now, we know there's a lot more. There are different ways of approaching health and mental health, and there's guidance for different situations, not necessarily conditions, but this was going back some time. So I'm 42, he'd be 46 now, and he was 20 at the time, so some 26 years ago. He was last seen meditating before he went missing whilst he was at hospital. And that was when he was 20. And he, his belongings, his clothes were found really tidy by the shore, or on the grass actually, before you get to the beach. And he was then found a couple of days later on the beach, and obviously he'd passed where he'd been in the water. I knew that he wasn't going to come back in the physical, because I'd had a premonition 12 hours before, whilst I was sleeping, 4 o'clock in the morning on the Monday, that all of a sudden, through my dreaming or through my sleepy state, I saw him very peaceful in his shorts, face up, laying on the beach with the sun shining down on his face. So I knew at that moment that may have even been the time that he passed. Who knows?
Right.
but I knew that we wouldn't be having the news that my mum was obviously searching for and hoping and praying for. The following day at 4 o'clock, then an officer who we knew, actually, who was my friend's dad at the time, knocked the door and then gave us the news that he'd been found on the beach. I knew when the door knocked that I had to brace myself, because it was really weird, but I knew what was coming. So and it was that moment that I went into, I think I went into full-on protector mode. So I made a decision that day that I needed to now step up and be the protector for everyone that I'd had and I'd portrayed my brother as the responsible one, the protector. I was like, oh, Dan, I need to get into this role now, don't I? It's on me. It's all on me. And that's the story I told myself at 16. And that's then what I went straight into. I think I definitely shed some tears at the funeral and a few other times, but not near as many as I should have, because I stuffed it down, because I was too busy looking after everyone else, and because that's a role I guess I applied to myself that I needed.
Yeah.
To...
Did anybody offer you any help at all, or?
Friends. Friends were there for me. But in relation to, no, I think what we got, it was quite sad, really. And I think this might have been where I lost a little bit of faith in people as well, and authorities, was when the nurse came round to visit my mum a few days after. I think I may have gotten really brave and asked her, because they'd asked him to stay in. He wanted to come home, and they'd said no. And my mum had asked why, and they said, because we want to keep a really close eye on him at the moment. So he disappeared when, they said it was when shift, there was, I can't remember what they call it, but it's when they swap over shifts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he kind of went around that time. So yeah, he slipped their eye, maybe people were busy, but they definitely weren't, it doesn't matter now, you know, what was meant to happen happened. But there was no close eye being kept, I guess, at the time. And one of the nurses came round and I asked her, why couldn't he come home? Obviously, when something so sudden happens and so you're so grief-stricken, immediately you look externally for all the answers and who you can blame and who was responsible. And he would still be here now if they kept an eye on him, if they did what they said they were going to do. It's only when you mature and start opening and looking at life that you know that absolutely, well, this is the experience for me. Obviously, this is all my experience. I'm not speaking for everyone, but everything happens for a reason. And I guess it's our duty to go and look for that and find what that is, you know. It's not our fault that these things have happened, but it is absolutely up to us to find our own peace, you know, and find our own way, I guess. So yeah, what going back to the nurse, unfortunately, I think I asked her, you know, why didn't you wouldn't let him home because you wanted to pay close attention to, so we trusted you, and he's not here now because no one was paying, you know, close attention to him. And her words were, well, you know what, he could have come home and got hit by a bus crossing the road. So yeah, I think at that moment, yeah, I got up and left the conversation then, because I couldn't stick around for it. I was a very angry 16-year-old at this point, but I think that might have been another addition as to why I felt, well, I need to do this myself then. I need to be responsible because nobody else is.
Yeah. And how did you feel towards your brother at that point?
Oh, I haven't really thought about that, Han. Hmm. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I'm not sure. It all just felt, I just remember it all feeling very wrong, very wrong. I felt like he'd been wronged, we'd been wronged, um,
Ooh.
we'd been, are you okay?
Yeah, no, I just got big chill there. Carry on.
And you know, we'd been robbed. I'd been robbed of my older brother, and I guess I felt like whatever was left of my childhood, even though it hadn't been amazing, um, was now gone. Everything was dissolved, and it was time to yeah, step into adulthood. So I definitely lost. I lost a big part of me around there, but I, like I said to you, I just stuffed it down literally till I was 40. And then it came up and bit me in the ass.
So what did you kind of do between uh, the time where you sort of stuffed it all down? What kind of life choices did you make, and were they good life choices?
Right, life choices. So for around about 16 to 17 and a half, I was a bit of a rebel. I stopped believing in my faith went. Whatever faith I had, whatever I held in my heart, it kind of went, and I got angry. Not, I don't remember going round fighting or causing issues. I don't know, my friends from those days might say otherwise, but I definitely had a lot of pent up anger, feeling very wronged, justice hadn't been served. And I guess that would have come out in different ways, you know. I kind of flunked school, couldn't be bothered, went to college, did a few odd jobs. And then something happened around the time when I was about 18. So it was about 18 to 20 months off the rails. Not making great choices actually, but we won't delve into them right now. Um, but but yeah, I knew that there was more to life, and my boyfriend at the time, now husband of 18 years, bless him, um, was supported me all the way. I joined the police. I needed a challenge. I knew there was more to me, so I joined the police force, and I guess that kind of ticked two of the boxes. That was like, that's kind of the lawyer I told everyone I was going to be. So that's kind of that done, and also I can protect. I can protect others. I can protect because I'm a protector, and I was really, really good at that. So I carried that on for about 14 years.
Did you know you were you happy in the police? Were you
Yeah, for the majority of the time, it's where I needed to be. It's where I wanted to be. Um, I felt, um, I think I felt really lucky to be there, because when I dropped around the time where I dropped telling everyone that I wanted to be an artist and kept it quiet, I also decided that I've got no good ideas. Ideas aren't, people like me don't have good ideas. I don't know where I picked that, and I carried that with me. So I almost felt blessed that I got in, even though I did all the hard work and I deserved it. It was a real massive accomplishment for me because I never thought I could. I didn't have much self-belief. So I needed to be in the police force for the whole time that I was there. The last couple of years, last year in particular, 18 months wasn't great. And I made my decision then to leave. But everything had to happen exactly the way it happened to get me to the point that I am now. I learned so many skills. I had so many heartwarming experiences, and I met so many kick-ass people as well. But I also saw a different side amongst people. And I also got a very strong message God, these premonitions pop up quite often, come to think about it. So I had a dream, premonition, message, download one night where I wasn't in a great place mentally. I felt it was like a breakup. It was like a difficult breakup, leaving the force. That's what it felt like to me. And I had a dream featuring a few of my colleagues at the time, and I'd woken up crying, and I had my finger like by my boob. Woke up 4 o'clock in the morning with my finger by my boob. Not something I do regularly, but what I felt there was a lump. What I felt there was a lump, and I was like, oh, hang on a minute, what's this? So spoke to my husband in the morning. We had the boys then, so my two boys, our two boys, and I said, let's not say anything because I'm sure this is fine, but we paid privately. We're blessed to be able to be in a position to do that. And within 48 hours, I went to the clinic, the private clinic, and I was checked out, and it was just breast tissue. And I was really lucky. My mum suffered with breast cancer, so the alarm bells were ringing, you know, when I found the lump, but it wasn't. And I took that at that moment as a very, very strong message, considering what I was seeing in my sleep before I found the lump. I connected the dots, and it was quite clear to me that if I was to stay in the position that I was in, I was going to become severely ill. So I left. I got a tattoo. Live life without regret. Time is precious, because you're not allowed to have new tattoos in where I was, and that kind of sealed the deal for me that it was time to go. So that's what I did.
So you took all your guidance and all your intuition, you were listening to it all along.
All along.
Yeah. All along. And interesting, and just a point about meeting your husband quite early on. Like, it's almost, I had the same with my husband. You're sort of, you lose a brother, but you're then given the life partner, I guess, in a sort of in return. I don't know if you thought about it before, but that's what happened with myself.
That's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, it was quite soon after, I guess. I don't know, maybe I was looking for someone to look after me, and that's because he certainly does, and that's, you know, and that's who I attracted in. You know, he's very loving, very caring, puts us all first before himself, which he usually gets a row about from me, because I'm trying to convince him to go for regular massages for his back rather than wait for his back to go before he does it. Yeah, he's not great at putting himself first, so I'm trying to work on that with him. But yeah, no, he's not like me. He's not a chatterbox. He has his moments, but he's a very strong, you know, backbone for me. He's one of those like gentle, quiet types who you know's always got you. So yeah, maybe I was seeking him out all along.
Yeah. So we should probably skip forward now to the sort of awakening you had. Does that kind of fit in with the timeline of things that you wanted to talk about?
I guess so. I guess so. So I left the police force, and I would have been really happy to stack shelves. I just wanted to get my bumps and my personality back. I'd been feeling a little bit lost. And to fast forward, me and a friend of mine and a best friend of mine at the time, who was also my sergeant, my inspector in different roles, who's an awesome guy, he kind of hooked me up with his wife. We opened up a coffee shop by the beach. I had told myself, God, I tell a lot of stories. We all do that. We make up stories about ourselves and make it our reality, but it's actually BS. So I told myself that I'd never be a leader and I wouldn't be good at that. that's not for people like me. And then I became a leader with Elena. We chose our team. We converted an old lifeguard station into a lovely venue, really. It's quite popular on Barry Island in Gavin and Stacey Land. And yeah, we both, she loved coffee, I love food. We kind of figured that it can't be that hard for two nice people to set up a business and build it, and they'll come, and they did. And that was 6 years ago. So that's still going strong. Around about 2 to 3 years in, we both started having a little bit more time in our hands. We put in so much hard work. We had everything running the way that we would like. We've got a most amazing manager, and she wanted more responsibility, so we stepped back. So what actually happened in that time, I think for the first time in decades, was I had space.
The old space.
That old chestnut. So I had formed some space around me and space within me. So with that comes itchy feet and fingers that go like this, and it's like, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? So I kept asking a question: who can I help? Who can I help? Life is good. My family are healthy. I know I'm not just here to celebrate Christmas and birthdays. There's more, there's more, there's more. Who can I help? How can I help? And I'm not sure how many times I asked that question, but it was whizzing round all day, every day for a little while. And then through my business, a lady, it's funny calling her a lady because she's now a very, very close friend of mine, like a sister. But a lady, Kelly, she came through, wanted to book a birthday, and she wanted to celebrate friendship. And I thought, wow, that's awesome. On her birthday, she wants to celebrate her friendships at my coffee shop. So I did all the food. They had some lovely, like delicatessen type, buffet. And at that moment, she claimed me as her friend because she made me get up and give a speech about my best friends. So she put me on the spot, she called me out, and she had me in tears, and I hardly knew her. From then, we knew that we were meant to meet each other. We were meant to get to know each other and do some stuff in life together. We just knew. I'd never had a meeting like that before, but it just felt like I'd known her for so long already, yet we'd only just met. And we spent the next month or so like we were catching up and bringing each other up to speed on our 40 years. It was really surreal. Kelly's still in my life now. She always will be. I think that our souls knew each other long before we did. That's what it feels like. But there's something about Kel's that's quite significant. She introduced me, well, very significant to this really, and shows what my brother's been up to all this time. If only I paid attention. So she introduced me to two of her very close friends and said, I'd really like you to meet my other friends, and I want you to come to our barbecue on Sunday, all of you. So spoke to hubby, he was like, yeah, nothing on, let's go. So I said, brilliant, Cal, we're all in. Where do you live? She then went on to describe the apartments that used to be the old hospital where my brother was actually staying from time to time, and where he was last seen alive. And I didn't look in the mirror, but I could feel the colour draining from my face. And I was like, okay, are you shitting me, Cal? Is this? And she was like, sorry, no, what we all live here, all three of us, we've all got apartments here. I said, of course you have. And she said, well, what's wrong? And I said, nothing's wrong. We'll be there, but it's a place I've avoided all my life. It's the beach where my brother went into the water and was found. And she was amazing. She was like, I'll guide you through it. We'll walk the path first. And I was like, thank you, we're coming. And, you know, honestly think he, well, I mean, you couldn't get more obvious than that, really, could you? So I don't need, I'm not questioning it, but it was just mind blowing how obvious that was, that he had brought Kelly to me and the other girls to me, and it took me to where he was last. And now I can visit there. We had a beautiful afternoon. The sunset was stunning. We had great connection, a good laugh and food. And I now don't associate the beach with anything else but beauty. You know, so he was the catalyst for the start of what followed after that. And I think what followed after that was 6 months of full on looking inwards and asking questions, being curious, making space, allowing myself to be still, saying no to things that I didn't want to do, saying yes to more of what I wanted to do, and and learning, really. I went for Reiki, and then I became attuned to Reiki because I loved how it made me feel. I loved the inner space. I felt so floaty and like I had so much more capacity all of a sudden, you know, like all the old all the old used up energy had been flushed out my system. So I thought, well, I'm going to train up in this. So I do that for family and friends now, every now and then. I should do it more, really, because it's quite amazing. So, and then I learned how to meditate. I don't do it as much. I don't do it often, but just knowing all these ways. I'd never looked inward before in my life. I didn't know what it was. I think it took me 3 decades at least to actually make the connection that our mind and body are actually connected. You know, I was disconnected from that way of thinking, I guess, because you only know what you know. And then when you know better, you do better. You know, that's kind of how it works. You do your best, and then when you know better, you do even better, and
Yeah.
so on and so forth. So
did you ever have a connection with Zubi that you could how did that sort of develop? Because I know you do have a connection now. How can you talk me through kind of like how that developed as well?
I guess so. I think the more open I became to dropping down from my head and into my heart, the more aware I was of different messages, signs, music coming on through the radio, my playlist shuffling to songs that I couldn't listen to before because they would break my heart. But now I'm singing along in the car to, you know, the car to them at the top of my voice and just feeling his presence and just having this knowing that he's absolutely around. So I think trusting, once I'd met Cal's, I started something. She was a massive catalyst for me, and it triggered so much more, so many more opportunities, and literally opened my eyes and my ears to a lot more that's around me. And I started seeing things in a different way. And as I did that, I was very much more aware of little signs, and then very obvious signs. I've never actually seen Zub, only in my dreams. And I felt him very much around me. But I think after the 6 months of looking in, you know, like it was like it was almost like a crash course in awakening. It was like really intense, really heavy. It was almost like someone was saying, come on, girl, you've got a lot of catching up to do. Read that, see them, hear that, listen to that. And it was like, blah, 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 blah. It was like quite a bit of a whirlwind. It's like I needed to get up to speed. Like, that's the only way I can describe it.
Oh.
And I just went with it. Is that sounding familiar?
Yeah, totally.
And then after that, it's like once I'd gotten all the tools and the toolkits and the practices I needed, then I dropped. I literally went, woo, and literally just like dropped, felt very, very strange, like didn't feel myself. And I was like, okay, what's going on here? Now, what had happened before that, of course, at this point, I still suppressed all my grief. It hadn't come out yet, because as far as I was concerned, I'd done a really good job of dodging it. And it wasn't going to find me. It's like, do you know, when you're a child and you play in hide and seek, so you cover your eyes? Because if you cover your eyes, no one will see you. But to you, it feels, to you feel like you're hidden, but you really are not. You are just stood there, and it's going to happen. They're going to find you anytime. So I guess grief found me, caught up with me, and I'd gone on a course 6 months prior, and I'd given up smoking, which really helped me suppress everything for some 26 years. So I'd given up smoking after that course. And during that course, there was an exercise on fear. And I remember sitting there going, yeah, I got no fear. I do zip wires, I do roller coasters. Like, I'll give anything a go. I've got no fear. So I closed my eyes and did it anyway, just in case. And I see a lot of colors. If I'm in like meditating or having Reiki, when I close my eyes, I see the most beautiful, vibrant colors swirling round, a bit of a lava lamp, snowflake type effect. I'll try and paint it one day, but it's not that simple. And they're just the most stunning colors. During this exercise, there was a bright electric blue. Funny enough, there's a lot of those bioluminescent plankton around at the moment, that type of electric blue, but really vibrant and really electric. So I saw that throughout the exercise. So I just observed that instead, because of course I had nothing to be scared of and there was nothing coming up for me. So I thought I'll just enjoy the colors, and then so everyone came round. It's only about 5-6 minutes, and people were talking about their experiences, and I was just listening. I was like, oh wow, that's amazing for you. And as I got up to leave the course, when it was time, when the course had come to an end, there was this overwhelming sense of sorrow, and the floodgates opened, and I just started sobbing uncontrollably. You know, when you can't control your nose and you've got no tissue, and it was just one of those. The floodgates, whatever happened on that exercise, opened up whatever it was that I was harboring in my body, in my heart. Whatever was going through my system that needed to come out, came out, and I sobbed uncontrollably. I went to speak to one of the coaches because it just wouldn't stop. And some of my friends on the course were like, no, don't leave without speaking to them. Something's going on here with your nervous system. This seems like a big blow. So I had a chat with them, and within 5 minutes we went through a method, and I felt so much better already. You know, the tears stopped. But that was followed up by 6 months later, receiving a message. I only remembered this morning, receiving a message that someone's little one had passed. I don't want to be too graphic about it, but they had drowned. And I remember being told that message and feeling this like time had stopped. As I heard the words and it was drowned, time stopped, everything went still. I hadn't seen The Matrix yet, and I know I need to see it, but I imagine it was a bit like that, you know, I was the only one moving and everything else was still. And it hit me quite deep. It would hit anyone quite deep, but there was definitely something going on in my body at that point when I heard the word drowning. Of course, that's how my brother died.
Mhm.
Within 48 hours, I was physically ill. So I'm not quite sure what that message did or what that triggered, but my iron hit rock bottom. I later found out I was very low vitamin D and B12, all of which are vital for moods. So yeah, everyone get your levels checked. Vital for moods. You know, I was fatigued. That would have been the iron. I couldn't stay awake for more than 2 hours. No pain, thankfully. But also had quite a big bleed as well. Obviously went to get checked out, and that is literally when my real healing journey, I believe, began, because it was like everything was released. So at the same time, my mental health, I would say, suffered. It changed for a while, and it changed me for a while. I became quite withdrawn. I isolated myself from others. I luckily spoke to my husband and my boys about what was going on for me and not to worry, because I would get to the bottom of it. But something was going on for me, and I didn't want too much responsibility, because all of a sudden, all that responsibility that I was able to juggle like twizzle on a plate with one hand, all of a sudden I couldn't balance a thing. I could only just look after my kids and maybe cook us a meal. Just us though. So it was like it's like I honed in to home, comfort, warmth, just nourished us, and I couldn't do for anyone. I couldn't physically or mentally do for anybody else. Looking back now, I was grieving. I was finally grieving. So that went on, all in all. The intense period was probably for about 6 months. In that time, I did some art when I felt good. So it's definitely been like a therapy for me as well. Absolutely. It's definitely helped heal. I was very gentle on myself. I put myself first. If you do it often enough, it becomes a habit, by the way. It's difficult at the beginning, but once you hit rock bottom, you realize you don't ever want to feel like that again. And you'll do everything in your power to keep yourself optimum, not just balance, not just treading water. Like I don't want to just tread water. I want to thrive. We should all be thriving. You know, I want to feel optimum. I want to feel my best every single day, whatever that looks like, and do my best every single day. I don't know if you know about the 4 agreements, Hannah. Have you?
I
Do you know
have,
the 4
yes.
agreements?
I
So they
have,
were
yeah.
really helpful. So I was, during that time, I think I was just really careful about what I consumed in so many different ways. Including, I want to say I want to say what I ate, but I'd be fibbing, to be honest with you. I'm not great with food. That's something I need to work on.
Mm.
But like all of a sudden, I was forced to reconnect with nature. When I was having down days, my sister would recognize and go, coming for a walk. And I started, I disconnected with nature the same way I disconnected with art. I had chopped off the things that I guess had been, you know, just life takes over, you get busy, kids, family, business, and all the things that are actually not just luxury, they're not luxuries, they're vital for our well-being. And I know now.
Mhm.
So I reconnected with nature. I got my iron levels up, my vitamin D levels up, B12. I finally got hold of the naturopath that I was trying to see for a year, an amazing guy, and took different supplements and had some acupuncture, booked in for Reiki. So I started nourishing my myself, and then slowly my cup began to fill up. Um, the people that were in my life and appearing in my life were those who I absolutely needed. You know, when you're aware of it, you start noticing who's coming in and who's going out, and it's all okay. It's just flow, you know.
Mhm.
Like they say, it's better to go with the flow than try and swim against the river. Just go with it, go with the flow.
Mm.
And I started rebalancing and realizing that I needed to go through all of that period. And I was pushed to go through that in
Mm.
order to heal and transform myself. And it was all my brother's doing. So cheers for that, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Like they're, you know, they sit around up there waiting just till the right time and until you give in as well. There's that like sort of, okay, I admit it. I need to get rid of this grief, and it's wonderful that they are there willing us on and plonking people right in our path, so we can't say no to it.
Absolutely.
So what about the art now? Do you feel him,
So yeah,
because there was a reason you came on this show apart from anything else, do you feel his influence in your art now, and how do you carry him forward?
so talking about attracting certain people, um, I have really connected with Kelly, still obviously, and four other women. And since last November, as I was finishing coming out of my grief, I guess, and what medics would describe it as imbalance, hormonal imbalance. There was definitely some of that. It can't be overlooked, absolutely, definitely. But also, um, you know, there is a whole process. There is a whole grieving process that I guess you need to go through in order to come out the other side. I think we've been through it. We've now seen it, and that it's only now that this is why I'm not so succinct about it. It's because it's only now I'm starting to connect the dots and look back and go, oh, that's what was happening.
Mm.
So there was like a natural, don't want to say end because it's not the end, it's only just the beginning, but there was a natural conclusion to the grief and the healing process when I was on a call with these five amazing women who we've all bonded and formed a beautiful sisterhood, if you like. Um, Despite only some of us not even knowing each other for more than 6 months. Um, it's such a nurturing, and I advise anyone that is going through difficult times to find your tribe. um we're not supposed to do this stuff on our own. It's hard to
Mm.
do this stuff on our own, so find those people that you trust and you can confide in, who you can be with, that hold a space for you, really listen to you, and don't hold judgment, because these are the people that can help you go from the caterpillar to the butterfly so much smoother than when you try going out alone. Because it's really easy to think you're nuts. It's really, really easy to think you're nuts and get yourself checked in. I don't want to think about how many people already do that, when really we just need some space, some love, some nurturing, and, you know, alternative practices to nourish us, I guess, you know, and a bit of fun and laughter, because that was the first thing I noticed disappeared from my life. That's when I knew that I wasn't right. So the natural conclusion was, after a call with my amazing tribe, and one of my friends picked up a guitar and she started strumming a Pink Floyd tune. And again, my brother used to listen to Pink Floyd all the time. I'd stopped listening to it. Well, after the call, it was such a warm, glowy feeling in my creation station, my little woman den. That's where I am now. I put on the playlist of all the Pink Floyd essentials. I opened my Mac, and what I started doing for the first time was creating uplifting, motivational quotes onto vibrant backgrounds. And before I knew it, I had a whole catalogue of them. Felt such a connection to Zub right then. It was almost like he was gifting me. So the first prints I did were some of the quotes from his favourite Pink Floyd songs. So Shine On You Crazy Diamond and I Wish You Were Here. And then as a result, I opened up a little Etsy shop. And, you know, so
do you what we've literally going to run out of time any second now. Do you just want to give people your Etsy shop so that people can go and see your work?
Oh, well, that was the beautiful ending anyway. Come and check me out, Sophia Christou Art. That's my name on Etsy as well. That's me on Insta and Facebook. And yeah, connect with me. I'd love to hear from you. And thank you so much for having me, Han.
I am so happy that you came, and yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and it's been a real pleasure. And your art will continue to be like something that's going to grow and grow. I can feel it. It's going to bring so much joy to people. So thank you so much, Sophia, and for joining and for giving us all your nuggets that you've learned along the way. Fantastic. Okay, lovely. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week. Bye. Thank you for listening to The Finder of Lost Things. I think we've been triggered so long and so hard by COVID, and it's going to carry on. People are getting used to stillness, and they're getting used to more solitude, but how do you use that time for the highest good? This process that we're going to explore will bring back the joy and purpose to life. That wholeness, that sort of harmony and flow and togetherness. People are really ready to find their lost parts now. You can find me at hannahvelton.online.
Views expressed on this program are those of the host, guests, and callers, and do not necessarily reflect the views of the station, its management, or advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.